Hi guys, and welcome back to All Booked Up. Today we are doing another book tag. This one is the Nerdy Narrative book tag. So this was created in honour of Leslie over at the Nerdy Narrative. It was her birthday recently, and the guys over at Codex Cantina created this book tag for her, which is wonderful. It does celebrate all things Leslie. It celebrates the fact that she loves so many different genres and styles of book. So yeah. I personally here was tagged by Klaus at Books by Klaus, so thank you very much for the tag. And yeah, let's jump straight in. Question 1 is science fiction. What is a futuristic or imaginative element in a book that you are glad is not real? So, for me, this is going to be from a series called Revelation Space by Alistair Reynolds. I don't know how many people have read this, but there is a genetically engineered race of humanoid pigs called hyperpigs. And you know what? I am super glad these do not exist. That is not something I need in my daily life. As far as sci-fi races go, this is one that, yeah, I'm very happy to give a miss, let's say. Question 2, horror. What has been the scariest moment for you while reading a book? Now for me, this is going to age me quite a lot, I feel, but when I was a relatively young child, the Lord of the Rings movies were just coming out. So I decided I would read the books, got to read the books. I'd read The Hobbit, I loved The Hobbit. In Fellowship of the Ring, that whole scene at Weathertop just freaked me the hell out as a child. Looking back at it now, it's not the most scary thing written, it's not super horror elements, but there's a little bit of that. But yeah, as a kid, that absolutely freaked me. So that's definitely the most scared I've ever personally been as a reader. Reading that Weathertop scene from The Fellowship of the Ring. Just did not like that as a kid. Question number 3. Fantasy. What would you import from a fantasy world into our own world? So for those of you who know me or have heard me speak a little bit, you'll know that I love Brandon Sanderson. I love his worlds. I love his magic systems. Now, I know lots of people are going to expect me to go Mistborn here, but what I would really love is I would love Spren. I think Spren from the Stormlight Archive, for those of you who've read any of those books, are super interesting. They're interesting as sort of a cognitive phenomenon, but also the magic aspects of that I think is really, really interesting. I think that would be a super fun and interesting element to add into our world. Yeah, I would actually think that's cooler than Allomancy, which I know is going to get me a lot of hate. So yeah, calm down, it's okay. Question 4, comic and manga. What's a comic you enjoyed or one that you have wanted to check out? So for me, I'm not a big comic reader. I've not really read any manga at all, but I have read a few graphic novels. My introduction to graphic novels was Watchmen, as I think it is for many people. I absolutely adore Watchmen. I think it is a really interesting piece of fiction. It's written very well. The illustrations are brilliant. I could not recommend enough for you guys to go and read Watchmen. The film, it's okay, but yeah, the graphic novel is brilliant. And if you're into your superhero stuff, absolutely get reading Watchmen. I think it is a work of genius, to be honest. Question 5, literary fiction and classics. What's a classic book that you've been meaning to get into but you haven't yet? Okay, I have had this book on my Kindle for years. I've had it on my phone Kindle app for years. I've had it now on my actual Kindle for a while. I really want to read Les Miserables. Now, I love the Broadway musical. I think it's brilliant. I really want to read it. I want to get into Victor Hugo. I want to read what exactly inspired this musical. I know lots of people hate on it. I know lots of people think it's way too long, but I do want to read it. I want to see what's happened, where this has come from. I'm super interested to jump into that. So Les Miserables, I've been meaning to read for probably near a decade and still have not got around to, but one day I will read it, honest. Question 6. The Busy Bee. What book would you like to share with all your friends? I've been thinking a little bit what book to recommend here that I've not mentioned before on the channel, and I actually want to recommend The Lions of Al Rassan by Guy Gavriel Kay. Now, this is, in the most technical sense, a fantasy book, but the fantastical elements are super dialed down. In many ways, it's almost a historical fiction with just set in a secondary world, basically. I think it's really interesting. It addresses the idea of religion really well, of sort of borders and countries and all that sort of mixing of cultures. I think it does really well. It's brilliant. And I think anyone who likes their fantasy or is reading historical fiction absolutely should give The Lions of Arasan by Guy Gavriel Kay a chance. I think you could really like it. Question 7. Influencer. If you could have influenced an author to make a different decision in a book, what would it have been? Now, I'm going to mention a controversial book here. If anyone has read the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks, I really actually do enjoy the Lightbringer series a lot. And I know The Burning White, the final book, gets a lot of hate. I know a lot of people really dislike what he did there, how he ended it. I actually generally enjoy The Burning White. I think it's actually a decent book. However, and there's going to be no spoilers here, I'm not going to spoil anything, but however, at the end, there is one particular death or not death, something that happens there, which I'm sure if you've read it, you'll know what I'm talking about, that I really disliked how he handled. I'm not a huge fan of the trope that he employed there anyway, and I actually really think he could have done something much more interesting there that would have really lent more weight to his ending. And it makes me a little bit sad that he didn't quite do what I think he should have done there. So yeah, the ending of Lightbringer would be my answer for this. Question 8. The birthday wish. What book do you want for your birthday? I found this really hard to answer. I've got a lot of things on my TBR. I've got a lot of things sitting waiting on my Kindle. I am going to have to say, though, Senlin Ascends. I have not read any of the books of Babel. I'm interested to get into them. I know that the final instalment's coming out later this year. I would love to have caught up before that comes out. I feel like maybe that's unlikely, but I would love Senlin Ascends. I'd love to jump straight in and really dig into this world that Josiah Bancroft is creating, that so many people I follow on BookTube absolutely rave about. Question 9, the invite. Who are you inviting to your BookTube party? So tag some friends to share cake with. I think a load of people have already been tagged for this. I think I'm quite late to the party. One person I've seen that I don't think has been tagged is Andrew over Andrew's Wizardly Reads. So, Andrew, if you're watching this, consider yourself tagged. Anyone else who's not been tagged here who wants to get involved, consider yourselves tagged as well. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.